The warning lights flashed red across the bridge of the Galactic. Medical research vessel Zenith's Dawn. Dr. Veltar lifted his scaled head from the scanner display, his yellow eyes narrowing as he studied the readings. Something was wrong with the data, or perhaps with their equipment again. Captain Zoreth, we are detecting a damaged vessel in Sector 7. Veltar called out, his voice carrying the slight hiss that marked his Kethmori heritage. The ship appears to be of unknown design. Captain Zoreth, a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms, moved gracefully across the bridge. Her species, the Velinari, had been spacefaring for over 2,000 years. Very little surprised her anymore. Unknown design? In this sector? That seems unlikely. The hull composition is strange, Veltar continued, running his clawed fingers over the control panel. It appears to be made primarily of metal alloys we do not recognize. And, Captain, there are life signs aboard. Life signs from an unknown species? Zoreth's voice carried interest now. As a medical research vessel, discovering new life was exactly their purpose. How many? 3 beings, Captain? Their vital signs are... Veltar paused, checking his readings again. Unusual. Dr. Zefina looked up from her station. The insectoid female's compound eyes glittered as she spoke. Define unusual, Veltar. Their heart rates are extremely rapid, yet they appear to be at rest. Their blood pressure readings would indicate immediate medical emergency in any known species, and their body temperature... Veltar's voice trailed off. Our sensors must be malfunctioning. What do the sensors show? Captain Zoreth asked. Internal body temperature of 37 degrees. That would kill any known life form instantly. Captain Zoreth made the decision quickly. Prepare the sea. Medical bay. We will bring them aboard for treatment. Their ship appears to be losing atmosphere. 20 minutes later, the transport being deposited 3 unconscious beings onto the medical bay floor. Veltar approached them carefully, his medical scanner in hand. The first being was tall with brown skin and short dark hair. The second was smaller with pale skin and long yellow hair. The third had medium skin tone and red hair covering his face. Fascinating, Zefina whispered, her mandibles clicking. Softly, they appear to be bipedal mammals. Look at their body structure. Veltar began his scans. Immediately, the medical equipment began producing readings that made no sense. Zefina, check the calibration on Scanner Unit 3. These readings cannot be correct. What are you seeing? She asked, moving to assist him. According to this, the tall one has a resting heart rate of 72 beats per minute. That is far too fast for a being of this size. Large creatures should have slower heart rates. Perhaps they are smaller than they appear? Veltar continued scanning. No, their bone density is extraordinary, much denser than any known species. And their muscle tissue? He paused, rechecking his scanner. Zefina, this cannot be right. Their muscle fibers are incredibly complex. The efficiency rating is off our charts. The being with yellow hair began to stir. Her eyes opened slowly, revealing blue irises that seemed to track their movements with surprising awareness. Hello, she said, her voice clear despite having been unconscious moments before. Are we safe? Veltar stepped back in surprise. Most species required hours to recover from unconsciousness, especially after the trauma of a ship accident. You should rest. You have been through a serious accident. The female sat up easily, showing no signs of disorientation. I feel fine. Where are my friends? Are Jake and Ryan okay? Your companions aren't here, Zefina said gently. Please lie back down. We need to examine you. Examine me? The female looked confused. Why? I told you, I feel fine. As if responding to her voice, the other 2 beings began to wake. The tall one with brown skin sat up and immediately looked around the room with sharp, alert eyes. Lisa, you okay? I'm fine, Jake. These people rescued us. The third being, the one with red facial hair, opened his eyes and immediately tried to stand. Veltar moved to stop him, but the being was faster than expected. Whoa, easy there, Doc, the being said with a slight smile. I'm not going to fall over. Veltar stared at his scanner readings in disbelief. All three beings showed signs of what should be severe medical trauma, yet they appeared completely normal. The one called Jake had internal bleeding, yet he showed no signs of pain or weakness. Lisa had what appeared to be 3 broken ribs, but she was breathing normally and moving without difficulty. Ryan had a collapsed lung, yet he was standing and talking as if nothing had happened. I need to run more detailed scans, Veltar said, trying to hide his confusion. Please, you must lie down. You have serious injuries. Jake looked puzzled. Injuries? Doc, I feel perfectly fine. Maybe a little hungry, but that's about it. Hungry? Zefina repeated. You should be in severe pain. Your internal scans show significant trauma. Look, I appreciate the concern. Ryan said, but we heal pretty fast. Standard human biology. Nothing to worry about. Human? Veltar repeated the unfamiliar word. Is that your species designation? Yeah, we're human, Lisa confirmed. From Earth. Never heard of us before? Veltar and Zefina exchanged glances. No known galactic database contained any reference to humans or Earth. Where is Earth located? Captain Zorith asked, entering the medical bay. 3rd planet from a yellow star, Jake replied. About 26,000 light years from Galactic Center, I think. We're pretty new to space travel. Your medical readings are highly unusual, Veltar said carefully. Perhaps you could help us understand your physiology? Ryan laughed, a sound that seemed strangely pleasant despite the circumstances. What do you want to know? We're pretty. Standard bipedal mammals. Nothing special about us. Veltar looked at his scanner again. According to his instruments, these humans were surviving with injuries that would kill most known species. Their heart rates were impossibly fast. Their blood pressure was through the roof, and their body temperature would cook the internal organs of any other life form. Yet they stood there, talking and moving normally, claiming to feel fine. Perhaps, Veltar said slowly, you could tell us more about human normal physiology? Sure, Jake said with another smile. Though honestly, there's really nothing interesting about human bodies. We're pretty basic creatures. As Veltar looked at his impossible scanner readings, he wondered if these humans understood the meaning of the word basic. Dr. Veltar watched the scanner display with growing unease. The human called Lisa was bleeding internally, yet she sat on the medical table swinging her legs like a child, waiting for a treat. Every few seconds, she would wince slightly, but then she would smile and continue talking to Ryan about something called coffee. Lisa, Veltar said carefully, you have significant internal bleeding. This is a very serious condition. Oh, that, Lisa said, touching her side where the scanner showed the bleeding. Yeah, I can feel it. It's not too bad, though. Should stop on its own in a few hours. Veltar stared at her. Stop on its own? Internal bleeding does not simply stop. It requires immediate medical intervention. Not for humans, Jake said from the next table. Our blood clots pretty well. Lisa will be fine by tomorrow. Dr. Zefina approached with a small device in her clawed hands. I would like to take a blood sample, if you do not mind. For analysis. Sure, Lisa said, extending her arm. Take as much as you need. Zefina carefully inserted the needle into Lisa's arm. Immediately, something strange happened. The blood that came out was bright red, much redder than any known species, but more disturbing was what happened next. Within seconds of exposure to air, the blood began to change, becoming thicker and forming what appeared to be a solid barrier over the needle wound. Fascinating, Zephina whispered. The blood is clotting almost instantly. Yeah, that's normal, Ryan said. Takes about 30 seconds for most small cuts to stop bleeding. Veltar watched as the blood sample was placed into the analyzer. Within minutes, the machine began producing results that made his scales stand on end with fear. The human blood contained cells unlike anything in the Galactic medical database. Zephina, he called urgently, look at these readings. She moved to the display, her compound eyes focusing on the data. These cellular structures ... what are they? The computer identifies them as defensive cells, Veltar said slowly. They appear to be designed for combat. Combat? Jake looked interested. Oh, you mean white blood cells? Yeah, they fight off infections and stuff. Fight? Zephina repeated. Your blood cells engage in combat? Well, not like actual fighting, Lisa laughed. They just attack germs and viruses. Anything that doesn't belong in our bodies. Veltar studied the display more carefully. The human blood cells were not just defensive. They were aggressive, mobile, and appeared to be actively hunting for threats. In the sample, he could see them moving through the blood plasma like tiny predators searching for prey. This is extraordinary, he said. Your blood contains an army of cellular warriors. I guess that's one way to put it, Ryan said. Never thought of it like that before. The medical analyzer continued to process the blood sample, revealing more. Impossible information. The red blood cells were carrying oxygen at levels that should cause immediate toxicity in any known life form. The chemical composition included elements that were considered poisonous to most galactic species. Your blood contains iron, Zephina said, her voice filled with disbelief. Yeah, so? Lisa asked. Iron is highly toxic to most life forms. It causes immediate cellular death. Jake looked confused. But we need iron. How else would our blood carry oxygen? Most species use copper-based blood chemistry, Veltar explained. Iron-based blood is theoretically impossible for complex life. Huh, Ryan said. Learn something new every day. The medical bay's main computer suddenly began flashing warning lights. Veltar moved to the terminal and read the display with growing alarm. The ship's AI is classifying human blood as a biological weapon, he announced. A weapon? Lisa asked, looking down at her arm where a small bandage covered the needle site. The AI believes your blood chemistry is designed to be hostile to other life forms, Zephina explained. It is recommending immediate quarantine protocols. That's ridiculous, Jake said. Our blood isn't hostile to anything except germs. But Veltar was beginning to understand something terrifying. As he watched the human blood cells under magnification, he saw them systematically destroying every foreign particle in the sample. They moved with purpose, coordination, and a level of aggression he had never seen in any biological system. Your immune system, he said slowly. How effective is it? Pretty good, Ryan replied. Most diseases can't hurt us much. Our bodies fight them off. Most diseases? Zephina asked. Yeah, there are some nasty ones on Earth, but even those usually don't kill healthy humans, Lisa said. Our immune systems are pretty tough. Veltar felt a chill run down his spine. The humans were describing an immune system so aggressive that it could fight off diseases that would kill most galactic species instantly. Their blood was literally designed for warfare at a cellular level. The scanner beeped again. Veltar looked at the new readings and felt his legs grow weak. Lisa's internal bleeding had stopped completely. In less than 2 hours, her body had somehow repaired damage that should have required surgical intervention. Lisa, he said carefully, how do you feel? Much better, she said, standing up and stretching. The pain is almost gone. Should be completely healed by morning. Healed? Zephina repeated. Internal injuries do not heal in hours. Sure they do, Jake said. Humans heal pretty fast. Broken bones take a few weeks, cuts heal in days, bruises disappear in a week or so. Nothing too crazy. Veltar stared at them in horror. These humans were describing healing rates that were impossible according to every known law of biology. Their bodies were not just surviving impossible conditions. They were actively repairing themselves at superhuman speeds. Perhaps, Zephina said quietly, we should run more tests. Tests for what? Ryan asked. Veltar looked at the 3 humans sitting casually in his medical bay, their bodies performing miracles of healing, an immune response that defied everything he understood about life. Their blood contained armies of warrior cells. Their healing rates were impossible, and they acted like all of this was completely normal. Tests to understand how you are still alive, he said honestly. The humans looked at each other and laughed, as if he had told them a joke. Veltar did not find anything amusing about the situation. He was beginning to realize that these creatures, called humans, might be the most terrifying life forms he had ever encountered, and they seemed completely unaware of how impossible they were. The alarm that woke everyone on the Zenith's dawn was not the gentle chime used for routine announcements. This was the harsh, urgent sound that meant life support failure. Veltar rolled out of his sleeping chamber and rushed toward the bridge. His scaled feet clicking against the metal floor. Captain Zorith was already there, her 4 arms moving rapidly across multiple control panels. Life support is down to 60%, she announced as Veltar arrived. Oxygen levels are dropping steadily. How long do we have? Dr. Zephina asked, her compound eyes reflecting worry. At current consumption rates, perhaps 8 hours. Before we must enter emergency hibernation, the captain replied. I have already ordered all non-essential personnel to their hibernation pods. Veltar felt his breathing become labored. 60% oxygen was barely enough to keep a Kethmori conscious, much less active. Around the bridge, other crew members were already showing signs of distress. The Velinary engineer was moving slowly, conserving energy. The crystalline security chief, Torgak, had dimmed his natural glow to reduce metabolic demands. What about our human guests? Zephina asked. They should be prepared for hibernation immediately, Captain Zorith said. At their accelerated metabolic rates, they will consume oxygen faster than any of us. Veltar nodded and made his way to the medical bay. He expected to find 3 unconscious humans, perhaps already suffering from oxygen deprivation. Instead, he found Jake, Lisa, and Ryan sitting around a table, playing some sort of game with small rectangular cards. Dr. Veltar, Jake called out cheerfully. Want to join us? Ryan is teaching us poker. Veltar stared at them in confusion. Are you not experiencing breathing difficulties? Breathing difficulties? Lisa looked puzzled. No, why would we be? The ship's oxygen levels have dropped to 60%. Most species would be unconscious by now. Ryan shrugged. Feels fine to me. Maybe a little thin, like being up in the mountains back home. Mountains? Veltar repeated. Yeah, high altitude. Jake explained. The air gets thinner as you go up. This feels like maybe 8,000 feet above sea level. Not bad at all. Veltar checked his medical scanner. The human's vital signs were completely normal. In fact, they appeared more relaxed than they had been earlier. You are not experiencing any distress? Nope, Lisa said, placing a card on the table. Actually, this is pretty comfortable. Reminds me of hiking in Colorado. Colorado? High. Mountain region on Earth, Ryan explained. People live there permanently. Some cities are over a mile above sea level. Veltar felt dizzy, and not just from the thin air. People live permanently in low oxygen environments? Sure, Jake said. Some humans live even higher. There are permanent settlements at 12,000 feet. People adapt. Adapt? Veltar repeated weakly. Yeah, our bodies make more red blood cells to carry oxygen more efficiently, Lisa explained. Takes a few weeks to fully adjust, but we can function at pretty low oxygen levels. As if to demonstrate this impossible claim, Ryan stood up and began doing what he called push-ups, lowering his body to the floor and raising it again repeatedly. In an atmosphere that was making Veltar struggle to remain conscious, the human was voluntarily exerting himself. Ryan, what are you doing? Safina asked, entering the medical bay and immediately leaning against the wall for support. Just staying loose, Ryan said, not even breathing hard. Sitting around too long makes me stiff. Zefina stared at him. You are exercising in a low oxygen environment? It's not that low, Ryan said, standing up and barely showing any signs of exertion. I've worked construction jobs in Denver. This is nothing. Captain Zorath's voice came over the communication system. All crew to hibernation stations. Oxygen levels now at 55%. Veltar felt panic rising in his chest. 55% was approaching the death zone for most species. You must come to the hibernation pods immediately, he told. The humans? Hibernation pods? Jake asked. Why would we need those? To survive until we reach the next station, Zefina said, her voice weak. 55% oxygen is lethal. Lethal? Lisa looked concerned for the first time. Are you guys okay? You look pale. We are dying, Veltar said bluntly. The oxygen levels are too low to sustain life. The humans looked at each other with what appeared to be genuine worry. Is there anything we can do to help? Ryan asked. Help? Zefina could barely speak now. You should be unconscious. Look, we're fine, Jake said. This feels like a normal day in Aspen. Maybe we can help with repairs while you guys rest? Veltar tried to understand what he was hearing. The humans were offering to work in an environment that was killing the rest of the crew. You cannot perform repairs. The oxygen levels ... are fine for us, Lisa interrupted. Really, Doc? Humans are pretty tough when it comes to this stuff. What needs to be fixed? Over the next several hours, while the rest of the crew lay in hibernation pods barely clinging to life, the three humans worked throughout the ship. Veltar, from his pod, watched through security cameras as they moved normally through corridors. That would kill any other species. Jake crawled through maintenance shafts that had oxygen levels below 40%. Lisa worked in the engine room where atmospheric pressure was dangerously low. Brian spent 2 hours in the cargo bay, where the atmosphere was so thin that the sensors registered it as essentially vacuum. And they talked to each other the entire time. Their voices carried over the communication system, casual and relaxed, as if they were working in perfect conditions. Hand me that wrench, Jake. This one? Here you go. Thanks. Lisa, can you reroute power from Section C? Already on it. Should have life support back up in about an hour. When the life support systems came back online and oxygen levels returned to normal, Veltar climbed out of his hibernation pod feeling weak and disoriented. The humans were sitting in the medical bay again, playing their card game. How do you feel, Doc? Ryan asked. You look tired. Veltar stared at them. They had just worked for hours in an environment that nearly killed the entire crew, and they appeared completely unaffected. If anything, they seemed more energetic than before. How are you still alive? He asked. Jake laughed. Doc, like I said before, there's really nothing special about humans. We're just tough, I guess. As Veltar looked at these impossible creatures, he realized that their definition of normal was going to give him nightmares for the rest of his life. The attack came without warning. One moment, Zenith's Dawn was cruising peacefully toward the nearest space station, and the next moment, the ship shook violently as plasma bolts struck the hull. Captain Zorith's 4 hands flew across the control panels as alarms blared throughout the bridge. "Savith Raiders," she announced, her voice tight with fear. 3 ships, heavily armed. Double quotes. Dr. Veltar felt his blood turn cold. The Savith were known throughout the galaxy as ruthless warriors. They showed no mercy to anyone they encountered, taking what they wanted and destroying everything else. Their species had evolved for combat, with thick armor-like skin, enhanced strength, and a natural aggression that made them nearly unstoppable in battle. "Defensive systems are down," reported the Crystalline Security Chief Torgak, his massive form glowing with stress patterns. "They disabled our weapons with the first strike. Surrender protocols?" Captain Zorith asked. "The Savith do not accept surrender," Torgak replied grimly. "They will board us, take everything of value, and space the crew." Dr. Zefina's compound eyes flickered with terror. "How long before they board?" 15 minutes, Torgak said. "Maybe less." Captain Zorith made a ship-wide announcement. "All crew to defensive positions. Prepare for boarding action." Veltar knew this was essentially meaningless. The crew of the Zenith's Dawn were scientists and medical personnel. They had no combat training and no weapons. Against Savith warriors, they would last perhaps minutes. He made his way to the medical bay to check on the humans. As the doors opened, he expected to find them hiding or preparing some sort of defensive position. Instead, he found something that made his scales stand on end with primal fear. Jake Morrison stood in the center of the room, and he was different. His eyes, which had been brown and friendly, were now wide and dark. His pupils had expanded until the brown was barely visible. His breathing had changed, becoming deeper and more controlled. Most disturbing of all, his body posture had shifted into something that Veltar's ancient instincts recognized as predatory. "Jake," Veltar said carefully, "are you feeling well?" Jake turned toward him, and Veltar stepped back involuntarily. The human's movements were fluid and precise, like a hunter tracking prey. When Jake smiled, Veltar noticed that his teeth seemed sharper than before. "I'm feeling great, Doc," Jake said, but his voice had changed too. It was calmer, more focused. "Lisa, Ryan, how are you guys doing?" Lisa Brooks was kneeling beside a storage crate, and Veltar was shocked to see that she had somehow opened it and was removing medical instruments. But she was not handling them like medical tools. She was weighing them, testing their balance, examining their edges. "These scalpels are pretty sharp," she said, her voice carrying the same strange calm as Jake's. "And these metal rods might work as clubs." Ryan Clark was at the computer terminal, his fingers moving rapidly across the controls. "I'm looking at the ship's schematics," he said. "If they board through the main airlock, we can funnel them through this corridor here. Creates a bottleneck." Veltar stared at them in growing horror. The humans were not afraid. They were not hiding. They were planning to fight against Savith warriors, and they seemed excited about it. "You cannot fight the Savith, Veltar," sighed. "They are professional warriors. You are civilians." Jake looked at him, and Veltar saw something in those dark eyes that made him want to run. "Doc, humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We're pretty good at it. But the Savith are bred for combat," Dr. Zefina said, entering the medical bay. She stopped short when she saw the humans. What has happened to them?" "Nothing's happened to us," Lisa said, not looking up from the improvised weapons she was creating. "We're just getting ready." "Ready for what?" "To defend the ship," Ryan said simply. "Can't let pirates hurt innocent people." The ship shook again as the Savith vessels moved closer. Through the communication system, they could hear Torgak announcing, That boarding would begin in 5 minutes. Veltar watched in fascination and terror as the humans continued their preparations. Jake had found some sort of metal pipe and was testing its weight and balance with movements that were clearly practiced. Lisa had created a collection of improvised weapons and was examining the room's layout with tactical precision. Ryan had memorized the ship's layout and was explaining defensive positions. The Sabbath averaged 7 feet in height, Zafina said weakly. They have natural armor in strength 3 times that of most species. Bigger and stronger, Jake nodded. Good to know. Means they'll be slower and less flexible. Less flexible? Veltar repeated. Physics, Ryan explained. Bigger muscles mean less speed and agility. We'll have to be smarter, not stronger. You plan to be smarter than Sabbath warriors? Lisa looked up from her weapons with something that might have been a smile, except that it looked nothing like the friendly expression she had worn earlier. Doc, humans didn't become the top predator on Earth by being the biggest or the strongest. Top predator? Zafina whispered. The boarding alarm sounded. Through the ship's communication system, they could hear the sounds of combat as the Sabbath broke through the outer defenses. Jake moved toward the door, his improvised weapon held with casual expertise. Time to go to work. Veltar tried to stop them. Please, you will be killed. The Sabbath are too dangerous. Jake paused at the door and looked back. For just a moment, his expression was almost sympathetic. Doc, I know you're trying to help, but you've got it backwards. Backwards? The Sabbath aren't dangerous to us, Lisa said, moving to join Jake at the door. We're dangerous to them. They just don't know it yet, Ryan added. As the 3 humans moved out of the medical bay and into the corridor, Veltar realized with absolute certainty that everything he thought he knew about predators and prey was wrong. The friendly, injured humans he had rescued were gone. In their place were 3 creatures that moved with the fluid grace of born killers. The most terrifying part was not that they had changed. The most terrifying part was realizing that they had not changed at all. This was what humans were underneath their smiles and casual conversation. This was what they really were, and the Sabbath warriors had no idea what was coming for them. The sounds of battle echoed through the corridors of the Zenith's dawn. Veltar huddled in the medical bay with Dr. Zafina, listening to the plasma fire and the terrible roars of Sabbath warriors. They had expected the fighting to last only minutes. Instead, it had been going on for nearly an hour. How are they still alive? Zafina whispered, her compound eyes reflecting the emergency lighting. Through the ship's internal cameras, they watched scenes that defied everything they understood about combat. The Sabbath warriors, 7 feet tall and covered in natural armor, moved through the corridors like the apex predators they were. But something was wrong. They were not winning. Jake Morrison appeared on one of the screens, moving through a maintenance shaft with impossible silence. A Sabbath warrior passed beneath him, and Jake dropped down behind the alien with fluid precision. What happened next made Veltar's blood freeze. Jake moved with a speed and efficiency that belonged in nightmares, not reality. Impossible, Zafina breathed. That Sabbath outweighs him by at least 60 pounds. On another screen, Lisa Brooks was leading 2 Sabbath warriors through a series of corridors, but she was not running from them. She was leading them into a trap. As they rounded a corner, Ryan Clark struck from above, using improvised weapons with a skill that spoke of generations, of evolutionary refinement. They are hunting the Sabbath, Veltar realized with growing horror. The humans are hunting trained warriors. The most disturbing part was how the humans coordinated without speaking. They moved like a pack of predators that had hunted together for years. Jake would flush prey toward Lisa, who would drive them toward Ryan. They never seemed to communicate, yet they always knew where each other would be. Captain Zorith's voice came over the communication system. Medical Bay, report. What is happening down there? Veltar activated his communicator with a shaking hand. Captain, the humans are ... winning. Winning? Against Savath warriors? They are not just winning, Captain. They are dominating the engagement. On the screens, they watched Jake corner a Savath warrior in a dead-end corridor. The alien was larger, stronger, and better armed. It should have been no contest. Instead, Jake moved with a patience that was somehow more terrifying than aggression. He waited for the warrior to attack, then used the alien's own momentum against it. How do they know how to fight like this? Sci-Fi asked. Veltar was beginning to understand something horrible. They do not know how to fight like this. They simply fight like this. It is what they are. The battle sounds were becoming less frequent now. Through the cameras, they could see Savath warriors retreating toward their boarding craft. But the humans were not letting them go. Jake, Lisa, and Ryan moved through the ship like ghosts, appearing wherever the aliens tried to regroup. They are persistence hunting, Veltar said suddenly. What? I accessed their ship's database earlier. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. They would chase prey for hours, days even, until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. That is impossible. No predator can maintain that kind of activity level. But as they watched, it became clear that the humans were not tiring. If anything, they seemed to be gaining energy from the combat. Their movements remained fluid and precise, even after an hour of fighting. The Savath warriors bred for short. Bursts of overwhelming violence were beginning to slow down. The most terrifying moment came when they watched Ryan Clark take a direct hit from a Savath plasma weapon. The blast knocked him backward and left a smoking hole in his shirt. Any other species would have been killed instantly. Ryan rolled, came to his feet, and kept fighting. He was shot, Sci-Fi said in disbelief. He was shot with a plasma weapon. And he is still moving, Veltar added. On the camera, they could see the wound on Ryan's shoulder. It was serious, bleeding heavily, and should have incapacitated him completely. Instead, Ryan seemed to have simply accepted the injury and adapted his fighting style to compensate. Their pain tolerance, Veltar whispered. It is not normal. Nothing about them is normal, Sci-Fi replied. The last group of Savath warriors had barricaded themselves in the cargo bay, trying to fight their way back to their ships. Through the cameras, Veltar watched the three humans approach the barricade with casual confidence. They are outnumbered 4-1, he observed. That does not seem to concern them. Sci-Fi noted. Jake, Lisa, and Ryan spread out around the cargo bay with movements that were clearly coordinated by some form of communication the cameras could not detect. They moved like wolves surrounding prey, patient and methodical. What happened next would haunt Veltar's dreams for the rest of his life. The humans did not attack the barricade. They simply waited. They waited with an inhuman patience that gradually drove the trapped Savath into panic. They are using psychological warfare, Veltar realized. They know the Savath will break. And break they did. One of the warriors charged out of the barricade in blind rage, only to be met by Jake with a calmness that was somehow more frightening than violence. The human moved like flowing water, redirecting the alien's attack and ending the threat with minimal effort. The remaining Savath warriors tried to surrender. They threw down their weapons and activated their emergency retreat signals. Most civilized species would have accepted the surrender. The humans looked at each other for a long moment. Then Jake shrugged. Your call, he said to Lisa. They attacked innocent people, she replied. But they're surrendering now. True, Ryan said, pressing a hand to his wounded shoulder. We're not pirates. They allowed the Savath to retreat to their ships. As the raider vessels departed, Veltar and Sci-Fi made their way to the cargo bay. They found the three humans sitting on supply crates, sharing water and tending to Ryan's wound. "How?" Veltar asked simply. Jake looked up from bandaging Ryan's shoulder. "How what? How are you alive? How did you defeat Savith warriors? How? Are you not dead?" Lisa smiled, but it was not the same smile she had worn before the battle. Now Veltar could see the predator behind it. "Doc, I keep telling you, humans are persistence hunters. We chase things until they stop moving. But the Savith are the most feared warriors in the galaxy." "Were," Ryan corrected. "I think their reputation just took a hit." As Veltar looked at these three impossible creatures, he realized that the galaxy was about to discover something terrifying. Humans were not just another species. They were the thing that other apex predators had nightmares about, and they were just getting started. The Nexus station grew larger on the main view screen as the zenith's dawn approached. Dr. Veltar stood on the bridge, watching the massive structure that served as the diplomatic heart of the galaxy. In a few hours, he would present his findings about humans to the Galactic Council. His report would change everything. "Station security is requesting information about our passengers," Captain Zorith announced. Word has spread about the Savith incident. Veltar was not surprised. News traveled fast in space, especially news about the galaxy's most feared warriors being defeated by an unknown species. 3 human civilians had accomplished what entire military units had failed to do. What should I tell them? The captain asked Dot before Veltar could answer. Jake Morrison's voice came from behind them. "Tell them we're friendly." Everyone on the bridge turned to look. The 3 humans had entered quietly, moving with that unsettling silence that had become familiar over the past few days. They looked completely normal again, smiling and relaxed, showing no signs of the predators they had revealed during the battle. "The station security forces are concerned about your combat capabilities," Captain Zorith said carefully. "Combat capabilities?" Lisa Brooks laughed. "We're just regular people. Nothing special about us." Dr. Zefina made a sound that might have been choking. After everything they had witnessed, the humans still insisted they were normal. "Jake," Veltar said slowly, "you defeated 7 Savith warriors. The 3 of you." "Yeah, but they attacked." "First," Ryan Clark replied, as if this explained everything. "We were just defending ourselves." "Defending yourselves?" Veltar repeated. "You hunted them through the ship like prey animals." Jake shrugged. "When someone tries to hurt innocent people, you stop them. That's basic human behavior." Veltar felt that familiar chill run down his spine. Basic human behavior. What these creatures considered basic would terrify most of the galaxy. "Nexus station security to Zenith's dawn," came a voice over the communication system. "Prepare for inspection. We are sending a boarding party." "A boarding party?" Captain Zorith looked concerned. "That is unusual for a medical vessel." "They are probably just being careful," Jake said. "New species and all. Makes sense they would want to check us out." Veltar watched as the security shuttle approached their ship. He knew what was coming. The station security forces were elite. Troops from multiple species, trained to handle any threat. They would board the ship expecting to find dangerous warriors. Instead, they would find 3 humans who looked like harmless civilians. The boarding party consisted of 6 security officers from different species. Their leader was a tall Velinari with ceremonial armor and energy weapons. They moved on to the bridge with military precision, clearly expecting trouble. "I am Commander Ethavor of Nexus Station Security," the leader announced. "We are here to interview the beings responsible for the destruction of Savith vessels." "That would be us," Jake said, stepping forward with a friendly smile. "I'm Jake Morrison. These are my friends Lisa and Ryan." Commander Ethavor stared at them. Veltar could see the confusion in the alien's eyes. These 3 small beings had defeated Savith warriors? You are the ones who engaged the raiders? Ethiver asked. We defended ourselves, Lisa corrected. They attacked the ship. We couldn't let them hurt the crew. How many Sabbath did you kill? The humans looked at each other. None, Ryan said. We let them retreat once they surrendered. None? Ethiver repeated. Our sensors detected the destruction of 2 raider vessels. Those ships were damaged when they tried to ram us during their retreat, Jake explained. We didn't destroy them. On purpose. Veltar watched the security team's growing confusion. They had come expecting to arrest dangerous killers. Instead, they found 3 beings who seemed genuinely concerned about having hurt anyone, even pirates. You show mercy to your enemies? One of the security officers asked. They're not our enemies, Lisa said. They were just people making bad choices. Once they stopped fighting, there was no reason to keep hurting them. Commander Ethiver looked at his scanner readings, then at the humans, then back at his scanner. According to our intelligence, you are civilians with no military training. That's right, Jake confirmed. I'm an engineer. Lisa works in life support systems, and Ryan is a pilot. Civilians, Ethiver repeated slowly. Who defeated trained Sabbath warriors? We got lucky, Ryan said. And we worked together. Teamwork is important. Veltar could see that the security team was having the same reaction everyone had when meeting humans for the first time. The disconnect between what they expected and what they found was too large to process easily. We need to escort you to the station for formal interviews, Commander Ethiver announced. Of course, Jake said. We understand you need to follow procedures. As they prepared to transfer to the station, Veltar pulled Commander Ethiver aside. A word of advice, do not treat them as prisoners. They are potentially dangerous unknowns, Ethiver replied. They are the most dangerous beings you will ever encounter, Veltar said quietly, and they are choosing to be friendly. I strongly suggest you do not give them a reason to change their minds. You think 3 civilians could threaten station security? Veltar looked at the humans, who were chatting casually with his crew members, sharing stories and laughing at jokes. They looked completely harmless. Commander, he said finally, those 3 beings represent a species that evolved by chasing other predators until they collapsed from exhaustion. They heal from injuries that would kill most of us. They work together with coordination that seems almost telepathic. They can survive in environments that would kill you in minutes. And most importantly, they consider all of this completely normal. Ethiver followed his gaze to the humans. They do not appear threatening. That is what makes them so dangerous. They do not need to appear threatening. They simply are. Later, as Veltar prepared his report for the Galactic Council, he struggled with how to explain what humans represented. They were not conquerors or warriors in the traditional sense. They were something far more unsettling. They were a species of apex predators who had developed empathy, cooperation, and mercy. They could kill with terrifying efficiency, but chose not to. They could survive impossible conditions, but used that ability to help others rather than dominate them. In his final report, Veltar wrote, humans represent the most dangerous species ever encountered by galactic civilization, not because they are aggressive or hostile, but because they are kind. They possess capabilities that would make them unstoppable conquerors, yet they choose to be healers and helpers. This makes them unpredictable in ways that our military and diplomatic protocols cannot account for. Recommendation: full alliance. Status should be offered immediately. Humans should be welcomed as equals and partners, not because we have a choice, but because they have chosen to give us one. As the Zenith's Dawn docked at Nexus Station, Veltar watched Jake, Lisa, and Ryan prepare to become the first human ambassadors to galactic civilization. They were excited about meeting new species, learning about other cultures, and sharing human knowledge. They had no idea that they were about to become the most feared and respected beings in the galaxy. And perhaps Veltar thought that was exactly why they would succeed.